Welcome to the official after show for Orphan Black, the next chapter audiobook. We are so excited to be breaking this down. It is narrated by the queen of clones herself, Emmy winner Tatiana Maslany, brought to us by Cereal Box. There's a lot to break down from episodes 1, part 1 and 2, and we're doing it right now, so don't go away.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
We finally are back talking best show, in my opinion, of all time.
It's a really great show.
We can talk about it forever. We've been waiting 2 years for this. Yes. And now we didn't know what form it was going to come in, but I think a lot of us Orphan Black fans were hoping some sort of continuation would happen.
Yes.
Now we have an audiobook, the next chapter. Like I said, brought to us by Cereal Box. Before we get into it, I'm Steph Sabraw, obviously a Tatiana Maslany stan. I think she is arguably the best TV actress of all time / actress. I adore her, and her talent is incredible, and we see it even get more incredible with this audiobook.
We don't see it, we hear it.
We hear it, and it's like, why are you so talented?
Why am I a terrible actor?
So, yes, Tatiana Maslany stan. Orphan Black is one of my favorite shows of all time, top 3 for sure. So I'm so excited to be breaking this down. And I'm joined by Marr. He is also an Orphan Black mega fan. He was on the panel for AfterBuzz.
Yes.
Broke it down week by week.
We thought it was done. We all cried. We had our feelings. And now we're bringing it back.
We're bringing it all back. This is a continuation of the clone stories.
Yes.
8 years after the events of the show.
Yes.
Starring, obviously, we have Cosima and Sarah in the picture already, and we get a little bit of Allison, but we have been teased that there will be new clones, even worse bad guys, if that's possible. So things are going to get real messy. Yeah. New episodes are dropping every Thursday. I can't wait to explore it as we go week by week, but I'm so curious what your overall thoughts are so far.
You know, I will say for people listening to this, it took me like about 20 minutes to get into it because it's different. Yeah. You're used to seeing a TV show. It's a visual, especially, sorry, my ear itches and my headphone. I got to itch it.
Love the honesty.
Yeah, you know, and again, a shout out to not just our listeners, but you listening in there. So for you podcasters, you're already enjoying the audio component of the show, but you're just used to seeing the visuals. And you think that part of the reason why Tatiana Maslany is so great is the wigs and all that kind of stuff. But it really, like about 20 minutes in, and you start hearing familiar voices, and you're like, oh, it's like a hug from an old friend. It's just like, you're like, okay, I'm back, and you can start to sense things, and even some of the writers that are writing this were, I think almost all of them were original writers on Orphan Black. So if you're in the Clone Club, which we are, you're going to be very excited.
Yeah. Clone Club for life. I do.
For life.
Speaking of the writers, I want to just shout out. It is narrated by Tatiana, but it's written by Malka Older, Madeline Ashby, Michelle Baker, Helly Kennedy, E.C. Myers, and Lindsay Smith. And I love shouting out writers and everyone involved because these projects can't be possible without them. And the writers of this show have... The reason why the show was so perfect was because not only was the acting and performances outstanding, the writing and the creation and the world that they built is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
So shout out to you guys, and that's cool to hear that a lot of them have been continuing their part.
And we'll talk about in news a little bit. Tatiana talking a little bit about the writers and so be sure to stay tuned for our news.
Yeah, we're going to break down this episode. We're going to talk about where we left off. Matt's going to give us a little 411 on that because it's been 2 years. Where are they? Yeah, hot minute. Where they are now, the clones that were mentioned, we're going to dive in a little bit, and then we're going to get into our new clone, Vivi Valdez. And the new disaster that's a brewing in town, and then get into Cosima, Delphine, and Charlotte, and a little bit of Kira as she pertains to their storyline.
Yeah.
And then we will have a special segment. Oh, clone.
Oh, clone, you didn't. It's going to happen. Oh, clone, you didn't.
That'll be a really fun segment where it's kind of that moment where we're just like, wow, what just happened? We are gagged.
Pearls clutched.
Edges.
Yes. parade, everything.
And then we'll have some news and gossip brought to us by Matt, and our top 3. And this week we're going to be talking about our top 3 Tatiana projects that she's worked on, and then wrap it up with some predictions. Sure. My overall thoughts on this is I'm not used to audiobooks as much because I am such a visual person, but as soon as I heard what I thought was Cosima's voice, I was like, it was a hug from an old familiar friend, and I said, I'm all the way in, baby. Yeah. Let's do this. And the story seems to be really getting hot and heavy, so I'm just excited to see where all the drama takes us and the new findings within the clones. So let's get into I know just rewatched parts of the last
finale. Yeah,
the finale.
I did watch the finale. Because there was just so much that happened. So I did a little bit of reading. And y'all, it's been 2 years. Yeah. It's been 2 years. So basically, if you remember in the finale, we kind of left things that... remember that Helena is like having the babies in the basement, and there's that moment where her and Art and Sarah, they're crying. I'm crying. We're all crying. She's having the babies, and then we kind of cut to we see a little bit of their life afterwards, and we see that we remember they were having a baby shower at the house, and we see a little bit. Remember, Allison has the new wig with the purple on it, the short hair, don't care, and we see that Donnie got a job, and that. Helena lives in their garage, and so she's raising the babies in there, and so they're co-parenting. But we also saw that Sarah was having some trouble kind of adjusting to S being killed and living in that same house. But we actually find out that they kind of, at the end of this, kind of partial end of this episode, we see all the sisters gather around with Cosima, Helena, Sarah, and Allison, and Rachel was in the car. And Rachel, this is important because it's important to carry on to this. Rachel gives Felix the list of all the clones that Leda. There's so many different organizations. It's like working in the White House here. You know what I mean? I'm like, dang. Okay, but Leda... there's 249 clothes from Leda. And so they get that list and they're like, oh my gosh, we're going to be able to help all these clones. And then so we kind of see that is what Delphine and Cosima have been doing. They spent probably years going around and helping 259 clones get the cure, so that way they won't die. And so,
they mentioned that in the episode. They
that's
did
why
cure
it's
them.
important to talk about that. So that's what they've been doing. And then we don't really know for sure where Helena is yet. We just know that, but this is 8 years later, so it'll be interesting because her sons, which were, remember, Arthur and Donald, because that's what she named, because she was like, you named after two strong men. They're going to be 8 years old now, so she's got boys somewhere, hopefully, and then we know that Cosima and Delphine are together, and obviously we heard a little bit about Allison, but so that's kind of where we left off, is everybody's kind of in a happy stand. I remember they walk out the door at the end of the finale, and it's Sarah and Felix and Kira, and they go to the beach, and the door shuts, and you see this sunny living room, and you're just like, oh, well, that doesn't last long, y'all. It's 8 years later, and not the bad word, but stuff's going down.
Stuff is going down.
Stuff is going down.
Thank you for that. I'm sure a lot of the listeners of the new audiobook, maybe some of you have rewatched, maybe some of you haven't, but I definitely love the touch-up because it's been 2 years.
You can watch it, by the way. You can watch it for free if you have Amazon Prime. So who doesn't have Amazon?
I bought it all when it was coming out.
So if you don't own it, but if you have Amazon Prime, you can watch it for free. I recommend watching the finale. It's only 40 minutes. Even if you watch like the last 10 minutes, it'll kind of like, oh, okay.
I was so obsessed with the show that it was hard for me not to instantly rewatch it once the series finale, but now I'm like, this is the time.
This is the time. Did you cry a lot at that finale?
Oh my gosh, yeah. I do want to ask before we dive deeper, I feel like all of us Orphan Black fans felt a certain type of way about one clone or the other. Like which one's your favorite? Which one resonated with you the most?
You know, you know who I really love? Because I'm from the South, and so I just love Crystal. Because I hope we see Crystal.
Yeah.
Y'all remember Crystal?
Yes.
It was like, there's a makeup hoax, and then she found out that actually were trying to spread this thing in like dermatological projects. But I love Crystal because she's my cousin Kelly. I just love her.
Don't
What about you?
underestimate her either.
Yeah, she's a badass bitch. What about you?
I've always thought that I am a mixture between Sarah and Helena.
I'm not going to piss you off. I'm not going to piss you off, Sarah Sabraw.
Helena's kind of savage side.
Don't stab my neck or while you're pregnant and giving birth, please.
Oh my god, I had the softest spot for Helena.
I do too.
Just love
I love
Helena.
her.
And then Sarah, that grit and spice. I feel that deeply. And her deep loyalty to the fam.
Yeah, that's true.
So let's get into now the little bit of info we got on each. We got the most on Cosima. She is trying her hardest to hide her past, any relationship with Dyad, and because of this, it's hurt her jobs and
She can't
even do it. And she's interviewing for a job, which we'll get into. But we do find out that she's been happily married to Delphine. Is that
for
kind
like
of what
7
you
years.
thought was gonna happen?
I mean, yeah. I mean, yes. I thought that wasn't a surprise to me, but it was like an awe.
Yeah.
For me.
It's an awe for me because even though Delphine won all of our hearts over and we ended up realizing she was on our side because there was those moments.
It took a while.
Yeah.
Took a while with
I
Delphine.
still don't trust anyone but the clones and S and Felix, you know? I trust her fully, but it's still, I love the reassurance that she is fiercely in love with Cosima and will do
Yes.
anything that has to do with her. It's her best interest. Almost that it hurts the greater good, which is ironic because
that's true. That's true.
She is in ethics.
Yeah.
And then on that side, Delphine is thriving. Really,
Yeah,
she's been
like,
able to totally do whatever she wants
because it was out. They talk about that. It was common knowledge that she worked for Dyad. She's kind of downplayed it, but she can't hide it. And so because Dyad was obviously it was very duplicitous, but it also was very well known, and you know that you kind of really had to be. I mean, this is like two people who probably are not science people talking about science.
How do you know that?
So, you know, she's smarty, whatever that is in science terms. But so she's like working all over on TV and stuff.
Tenure at the
Yeah.
University of Toronto, and she's on a bunch of different boards, highly recognized. I mean, she's always been really prestigious in whatever position she's been in. So it makes sense, but I get that, and that will be our last topic, talking about the relationship between Cosima and Delphine.
Yeah,
and
we'll get
how,
into that.
Yeah, how that's going to play into everything.
Get into it.
We'll get into it. And then we have Sarah. We get a little bit of tidbit from Sarah because she calls Cosima wanting Kira to stay with her, and that Cal and her are trying to patch things up again.
If my husband had that ass, you remember Cal? I don't
yes,
forget the actor's
I do.
name, but he was on Game of Thrones. Did you watch Game of Thrones?
Yes, I did.
He got some Khaleesi before she went. I don't want to talk about it. I'm still angry about Game of Thrones. I can't talk about the ending. I'm angry, but I can talk about his butt. It was incredible and amazing. And yes, Sarah, you should try to get back with him. Cal is Kira's father.
Michael, played by Michael Huseman.
Yes, Michael Huseman. But yeah,
yes.
he's Kira's father,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Okay.
He's
Man.
Kira's father. Yeah, what a man, what a man, what a man.
I'd watch that spinoff.
But it's interesting that they're still trying to rework it out. I do think that they have a deep connection.
I do
but
too.
It does suck for Kira. She started to get really angsty and kind of fight everything Sarah wanted for her, which I get. And it's hard because obviously she can be a little bit annoying, but so were all of us at that age.
Yeah.
And then you put on the whole life-threatening day-to-day lifestyle that they live. I get that.
No, so my master's is in psychology, so I did like marriage
Read
and family
her for
therapy.
filth for me.
No, but I feel like kids we either become so much like our parents or we become so much opposite of our parents. It's kind of either or. And so it makes sense that Kira's basically growing up to be her mom. Because we saw, and what I loved about it is this wasn't just like a random choice. I felt like shout out to the writing on this. That remember, like in the last season, I don't remember exactly the context, but there was a thing like where they. Where Kira or Sarah was trying to get. Remember when Kira was going and getting like her blood taken and tested on her with Rachel, and Sarah hated it. But then Sarah realized that Kira was kind of hustling Rachel and lying to her, and Kira was saying like, I like being like my mom. I like kind of being a hustler. So it makes sense to me now that Kira's going to grow up to be this girl, and I love that. The writers just didn't create this, that they literally created Kira based off of of information that we've had before that makes sense. So it makes sense to me, and it makes sense why, kind of segueing in, why Charlotte, on the other end, how she was raised in a scientific, like, community by, what was the woman's name? She died. Her mom died. Remember? She worked at Dyad.
Yeah, the
Merle.
Charlotte's mom.
She mentions her.
Yeah.
Starts with an M. I'm blanking. But she was raised much more like type A, prim and proper, and it makes sense why Charlotte is kind of the way she is.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting to see, because now they would be, I guess, like, they're like 18, 19, 17? We don't really know, but I think Charlotte was, I think, 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And she's been living with Art. So she's still like doing that and chilling out with Art and Arthur. And so she's kind of had a great home life with him, which I'm excited to see some of that. But anyway, I just love seeing these girls growing up.
Yeah, I agree. Seeing Kira and Charlotte is really interesting because that's the progression of the Orphan Black storyline in this sense. And especially because they're both involved genetically with it. Kira is a miracle human, and she has abilities that none of us have, so she is highly sought after in the science
I forgot
world.
Kira has abilities. I forgot. Yes, Kira has abilities. Does that mean Helena's twin boys are going to have abilities?
Probably. That's why Helena is probably under wraps. Yes. The plot must thicken.
Yes.
I know every time you think you've covered it, you're like,
no.
but that too.
No.
And they do it in a way, and I sometimes get annoyed with shows where I'm like, oh, you threw this in, that in, that in. Mm-hmm. Orphan Black was done so well where everything made sense. When people got abilities or special things happen, it made sense for the plot and it moved it forward. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, that's Kira. She's kind of fighting back, and yeah, I don't blame her. I get that she doesn't want to be around when her parents are trying to chop it up again.
Yeah. Kira's going to make out with you at a party. She has parental issues. Like, she's going to be a woohoo girl. We knew this. Come on.
I mean, if she takes after Sarah, she's going to be wild. She's
going to be like, woo! Yeah, everybody knows the woohoo girl.
Out drinking, out hustling anyone at the bar.
I've been a woohoo girl, so I can claim it.
I can say it. Okay, on the flip side, Charlotte, you mentioned a little bit about her, is that she's taken in the after her mother in a sense, and after Cosima more heavily in terms of being really into science, really advanced for her age, really aware of her genetics, and kind of what it means in society to be someone with a prosthetic leg. And that was a really interesting point they brought up, that it's one of those things, like, the more that science acclimates and her leg looks more normal and she can talk and she can walk more normal, people don't identify her as someone with a disability, so to speak, and that would be an internal struggle because that is her narrative. So for people not to see that, then it's kind of like an overcompensating position for her. No, it's like when you put your identity onto something, and then your identity, and then the culture shifts into where your identity maybe isn't looked at in a different way. It's just, it can throw you off. And I love that this show does that. Like, it touches on, and I'm excited just from what the little tidbits we've heard in here, that I'm excited about. They touch on topical issues that are happening in, we're so much of our culture right now, and especially in entertainment, but at least in the United States, so much about supporting diversity, and I love that. And one of the things that I know recently, like with the Tony Awards, and like the girl who's in the wheelchair won the Tonys, bringing this conversation of, do we support
handy-capable people in our diversity aspect too. And so like I love that they bring that into her story, because they could have just glossed over it like, oh yeah, she has like a really great leg brace, but she can run, she's fine, she can, you know, they do that in shows. They're like, oh, he broke his back, but then we just got him a thing and now he walks fine. And you're like, no, like that's interesting to a person's development, and I think that's relatable to a lot of people. They did that. I liked how with a little bit, I'm not going to say why, but we'll get into it later, but they talk a little bit like the medical system versus in the United States right now, and healthcare versus like in Canada.
Oh my God, I sipped on that shade heavily. We see you. We see you.
We see you, Canada.
As soon as she said that, I said, oh. Agreed.
So I think something they're doing in this, they mentioned Canada's never really been a character in this show. We kind of didn't really know where they were. Like, we kind of knew it was in Canada, but it really wasn't. You know what I mean? Like some cities, like Daredevil, you know it's in New York City.
Yeah.
And they kind of didn't do that. This one, I felt like they promoted much more that Canada and what's going on in Canada and Ontario specifically.
With science, with health, with insurance.
Yeah, and like we'll talk a little bit about the new clone, how she can't speak French versus English. Yeah. So that was interesting to me.
Yeah, agreed. And before we get into the new clone, I do want to say thank you guys. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you to our listeners who are tuning into this after show for making AfterBuzz TV the ESPN of TV talk. We can't do this without you. And we absolutely love being able to come here and talk about TV shows, talk about now audiobooks. Like this one especially excites me to no end. And we just ask that you like this video if you're watching. Leave us a comment. We want the conversation to keep going. If you're listening on iTunes, leave us a 5-star review, 5 stars and a review. I mean, those are extra feisty.
You got to write something because it helps us. So if you don't know what to write, just write, "Oh, clone, you didn't."
Yes.
Just write that.
And
something.
We know. We'll love that.
We know where you coming.
Anyways, you guys can follow. We'll be breaking down the episodes. We'll tweet about when we're going to go live, so you guys can join us in the live chat if you are a YouTube listener and viewer. So let's get into the new clone, Vivi Valdez.
Y'all, she could practically be sitting here. We got Matt Marr, Sarah Sabraw. Is that Steph Sabraw? Sorry. I was thinking of Sarah. Steph, it's Sabraw, right?
Yes.
Steph Sabraw and Vivi.
Yeah, we got
all the alliteration. We're ready.
So I pulled the quote of how Tatiana described Vivi in the Entertainment Weekly article. She said, she's an unaware clone, which has been kind of a reoccurring theme throughout the series. Clones who don't know they're clones and discovering their identities. She grew up with this sense that there were other girls who looked like her, and she thought they were imaginary friends. There's this narrative that she sort of has repurposed in her head to be like, oh, those are imaginary friends that I was seeing. Her psychiatrist and her parents forced that idea on her. So when she first starts to see adult women that look like her and Charlotte and all of these other people, it puts the story of her childhood in stark contrast with with what the truth is, and she has to reevaluate. Not only is she investigating this massive explosion that happened, she's also picking through the part of her own identity and own life story. And they did a really good job of that. Was the part where I was totally sold into the audiobook and really just delved into her storyline when she was explaining the imaginary friends and all this stuff, because it relates so heavily to Orphan Black, the series, when all the clones kind of came to and realized that something had been off their entire life and they had been lied to and told that nothing was happening and all of these things. So in her case, I'm curious to know if her parents were involved in the covering up of that,
because we know they're deceased and she's not old, so probably it's mysterious why they're dead.
So what did you think about her character and how she was introduced by listening in on Cosima's interview?
I loved it how like this happenstance of how clones find another. And obviously, I did open up the YouTube live chat. By the way, we've got like 7 people there. So, give a shout out to Billie Jean Girl and Damien McDonald, Andrew Lestrange, Kashika. They really like Vivi as well. Now, they're also, hopefully you're all figuring out, a lot of you are like, wait, what's happening? Is Orphan Black back? So you want to go make sure you go to Serial Box. You can download that. I think it's like $20 to download the whole season. So that's how you listen listen to this. So that's how you have it, because there's some chat in there. Y'all didn't know where to watch.
Yeah, serialbox.com. And you can also just type in Orphan Black, the next chapter.
Exactly. I thought, again, I love that, it's part of what I love about all these clones, no matter who they are, from like MJ, R.I.P., rest in peace. I know.
I'm never getting over it.
That was brutal.
That was brutal.
But they all have this, I love that they're all intelligent women, even when you think they're dumb, like Crystal. They're intelligent in their own way, and they're curious in their own way, and they all have a resilience. Mm-hmm. And we see that already with Vivi. And I mean, it was great. I didn't know it. I assumed at first when they said her name, I was like, okay, we got to remember this person. And then she was talking a little bit more. And then when she said Vivi pushed her curls out of her face, and I went, she's got curls. It's because then I thought, oh, it's totally a clone. Did you know at first it was immediately going to be a clone?
No.
I didn't.
No.
See, some people did. I did not.
I didn't. I thought that she was just someone that's thrown into the investigation, kind of like Donnie or Sarah's.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Who died in like season 3.
Yes, and it was so
It's the
sad.
actor's Dylan Bruce.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
My bad.
That actor's body. I'm sorry.
His story was
great.
so
That was
perfect by the end of it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought she could have been a character like that.
Yeah.
So finding out that she is in fact one of the clones once we see her run into Cosima, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was crazy. I like that, and somebody asked this, Billie Jean Girl 24 asked this, wanted to know if, like, what's Rachel doing now? And I bring this up, we haven't heard anything about Rachel, but I bring this up only because so we're finding out that Cosima's interviewing at this, she's listening to Cosima interview, and they're talking about dyad and things like this. It's bringing back a lot of stuff that Rachel worked on. So maybe Rachel will be coming back in that capacity. We're not sure yet. But
They did touch on it a little bit.
Yeah, I thought it was a great introduction to Vivi, though. I loved it.
Yeah. And it's Paul.
Paul.
Oh,
Paul.
Paul, we will never forget your name again.
I mean, can we have him interview on the show? He hasn't been on in 5 seasons, but I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care. He has a lot to say about this, I'm sure.
He has a lot to say. I need to follow him on Insta because I'm thirsty. I am thirsty.
So, Vivi, let's talk a little bit about the interview. So Cosima is in this interview, and she thinks it's finally a good opportunity that's outside of what she's been having to do to hide her past, and it's with Sturgis, and it's
Dr. Sturgis.
This man named Dr. Sturgis, and it's instantly brought up kind of within minutes about her and dyad,
which she hasn't. So we found out a little later the reason why she's freaking out, but when he knows all that, because she has published nothing about this. She's like, which I get it. I mean, can you imagine where your whole life is like running and your safety, and are you going to die, or someone going to kill you, or someone blah da 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 da. And so this is all kept so secret.
Yeah.
She hasn't put anything about this. She hasn't even published all of this information. Yet Dr. Sturgis is talking about this information like he knows it, and the cure and everything, which makes me wonder, is Rachel involved? Like, Rachel probably had access to this information. Did she leak this to him?
The problem with how many clones there are and how many people were involved in the making of this is that, is secrecy possible?
That's a good question.
Like,
ooh, you deep.
There's
That's a good
no
question.
way they can cover up all the loose ends. It's just not possible.
No.
So, and we'll talk about this when we talk about Cosima and Delphine, because I think the biggest issue was whether or not they should have gone public with the information.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks for Cosima because she's a brilliant scientist who created a cure for something massive beyond any science that they've seen.
Yes.
And she can't even claim that. Like, she's interviewing for PA positions, and she should be the director of Marvel.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I'm Cosima in life. Why am I working at the same job? Why? I know.
Like, I swear my abilities
swear.
are way more than this resume shows. Trust me, I just can't write it.
This is what I get for trying to sleep my way to the top. I'm still on the bottom. Oh, I didn't even mean that way, but sorry. Bree's laughing in the booth. I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that, Bree.
I love that. Shout out to our producer, Brianna Phipps, in the booth.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit interesting, kind of what we think this company Grit is doing, what their hopes to find is, and at the same time Vivi is looking into them because there's people dead, and its agents are dying, and it's only agents that have had to do with this. So she's trying to figure out whether it was planned or not. Obviously, we'll get into that into predictions. It's planned. Things are going down.
Spoiler alert, it's planned. Spoiler alert.
So what do you think his intentions were? Do you think they were good in wanting to get Cosima on board, because obviously he knew about her, or do you think it was self-interest, or because he brought up the idea of this will save a lot of people, but it could also hurt a lot of people?
I don't think he fully, whenever Cosima was kind of interrogate, or later when we see Vivi is interrogating him, because when Vivi breaks in later, that was a great moment. I mean, I guess if we can jump to that, but when Vivi broke into Grit, and then Dr. Star just walks in on her, and she at first tries to pretend to be Cosima, which was awesome. And
but does Cosima still have dreads?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I think so, yeah.
So that was probably what gave it up.
Maybe. Well, she had a hood on, remember? She said, because she has red curls, and she had hit her red hair, so I think her hair is dyed red. So, anyway, but I don't think he fully knows, I don't think he knows exactly how deep he is in.
Yeah.
I think he probably knows a little bit of the information and probably not all the story, but he really has no idea. Do I think he was doing good? Probably not, because we already learned from just kind of Vivi's initial reaction to him that he's kind of a scumbucket.
Yeah.
And like a misogynist and like a sexist. So I don't think he's a good guy. I think he's just in it for the buck, and is kind of the middleman in this and doesn't really know what's going on. That's what I think.
He's in over his head for sure. It is an interesting point that he brought up. Anything that has the potential to help people has the potential to hurt people. And I think this is, in a lot of ways, the thesis of Orphan Black.
Boy, that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
And in science in general, we have the ability, and we saw it with Brightborn, like these things that start with great ideas and to help people suffering from great issues, whether it be pregnancy issues or like trying to not have a leg that doesn't work, whatever it may be. It starts good, and then in the wrong hands, which it always gets in the wrong hands, things get abused, and it can be really bad. And so all we know right now is that agents have gotten suddenly ill and died, and it's their families, which is even creepier. So that is kind of what we know of what's brewing up. And let's move into Cosima and Delphine and Charlotte.
Sure.
So Cosima comes home. It's their 8-year anniversary.
I love that they're married.
I love that they're so in love
I love that they're wanting to get it on the patio.
Yes.
You get yours.
You better get it.
I love that. I love that you know what's cool about, from a writer's perspective, is they can do anything now. Because they don't have like someone saying, no, you can't go into outer space because our budget, we don't have that. You know, they literally can do anything. So that's exciting. And I love how they talked about as like when Cosima's in the kitchen and she sees, like, they give us a hint of like the things decorating their kitchen of their travels from around the world, curing all the other clones. And I thought that did such a great way. Like when she was reading that and saying that, like I literally had mental images in my mind.
Me too.
Of them like taking vacations and helping. Like it was so beautiful. It painted the picture for me, and I just saw it, and it made me realize they have such this beautiful history together.
I know. It is interesting because we as Delphine figures out what's been going on because Cosima tells her, which I love that they can be that honest and open with each other, because the worst thing across every show, when someone keeps something from their loved one, it will slap you in the face, and you need that ally in your life. So don't keep secrets.
Don't
but
do that.
I love how open she is with her, but it brings up this interesting discussion between them, because I think that, this was... what did she say? Cosima was basically saying, like, should we have gone public with this information? Because something's brewing up. More people are dying, because Charlotte brought to their attention that another person had died who was a clone. And Delphine had this point where she was like, no, because we had to protect you. And it's this argument, and this, I think the only they need each other and they love each other and they're meant to be with each other. But their issues are the other person's. How do I explain this? So Cosima has to hide and Delphine supports that because she loves her and wants her to stay alive. But Delphine at the same time is an ethics scientist. So she should be the one that's kind of influencing it to go public, but it's a one time where, because she loves her so much, her job kind of gets convoluted.
But we've seen that. What I love is that we've seen that in the past before. That's just Delphine's character, that she really is super ethical unless it comes to protecting Cosima because she loves her.
Yeah.
So again, I love that it made sense. And I love that now they're faced with, I don't think that clone, or maybe we're talking about the clone that died, the younger clone, she didn't die, did she? She was just sick.
Oh yeah, suddenly
She's sick.
Yeah.
And what's interesting about that,
I thought one died. Maybe not.
We did.
Yeah, I thought one died.
Maybe we died earlier.
Yeah.
Yes. But but we find out there's this newer clone, this girl that she says who is 28. So she's younger. She's older than Charlotte, but younger than the rest of the clones. So it kind of brings on this whole new mystery of kind of what you said earlier. There's so many clones. Can this really be secret? And also, when they said that, I thought that was kind of dumb of us to think that of all these clones, that we would think that only Charlotte was the only other clone they tried to do this again.
Yeah.
So we're finding maybe there's even more clones than on the list, and they're not even all the same age. Because I guess they would be, what would Cosima, what were their age? They were like what? Like probably 28, 29. So they all probably would be around like 36, 37 now.
Yeah.
I feel like maybe 35.
Yeah.
And so this newer clone's 28. So that's a big jump. So that
this is the one you're talking about that Charlotte shows them. Dana Emmett. So she's 6 years younger than Cosima, 10 years older than Charlotte, and she's not Lita. That's another huge point that's brought up.
Yes. That's a big deal.
So on top of that, so we have a clone that's not Lita, and then from what Vivi found out from snooping is that they're targeting agents and genetics.
It's still unclear exactly who they're targeting, I thought, at least in listening to this.
All she sees is agent to genetics to target bioweapon, intention to attack. Like, she's trying to figure out what the intention was, if it was to attack. And she sees words like shortcut genome targeting, viral manipulation, refining delivery system, and gets this idea of changing someone's DNA.
Yes.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So when I know in your news and gossip you tease kind of what's happening, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
That is next level of what I didn't think was going to happen.
And it's interesting, they bring in stuff that, like, I don't know if y'all guess, but I'm real gay, real gay. But there is things that a lot of my friends are talking about in the queer community that, so one of the things that they talk about is we find out that Delphine really wants to have a child.
Yes.
And she really wants to have a child, like, from her egg and for Cosima egg. And this is the only thing I thought was not odd, but a little, that I was surprised Cosima had a problem with that, but it also makes sense. But that is legitimately what is starting to happen. They actually say, like, in probably the next, like, 2 years, they'll be able to take the DNA of one female egg and the DNA of another female egg and create, without a male, be able to create a baby for people that have the DNA. Men, it's going to take longer. But I love that they're taking, this is real science that's happening in the world. And also I love that we see that, like, what an interesting, like, I know some of my good friends, like, did the surrogacy and the embryos and all that kind of stuff, and they didn't think about it. It's just what they wanted to do, and they could afford to do it. But when you think about, like, for Cosima, that's like why she has trauma in her whole life because of that. Something we take for granted, but for her, it's a really traumatic thing.
Totally.
I thought it was smart.
The moment that she found out that she was a patent, you could tell that shifted her, the way she thought of herself, the way she viewed the world. So it makes total sense. I love that they're bringing that in because it is a societal topic in general. And it does, I feel for Delphine because obviously you want a child with the person some of us want children with the people we love. But I do feel for Cosima that it's like she could not possibly love someone more than she loves Delphine. But that doesn't necessarily mean that a child is right for her.
Yeah, that's true. And to bring up Billie Jean Girl-esque and think, to our knowledge, Sarah and Helena are the only clones that can have kids. So the other ones, Cosima, Crystal, none of them could, because remember, Helena and Sarah are like they're like the OG clones or whatever. So, and yes, somebody brought up the clones were born in 1985, so that would make them,
If we're on the same timeline.
I don't do math, 30-something-ish now.
So we leave off with Vivi when she is pretending to be Cosima. Dr. Sturgis realizes she's not and realizes she's one of them, but she doesn't know she's one of them or what the heck that means. And that starts to spark her probably crazy internal thoughts of, was I not making that up when I was a kid?
Oh yeah, because we get this weird flashback with her while she's kind of digging before Dr. Sturgis comes. She just has this flashback of like being in a room with other girls like her, and like having her Vivi imaginary friends, her like Vivi group or whatever. Again, I love that. I love that they took that, and also I love that this is kind of, it was to me a reflection. It wasn't exactly the same, but a reflection of that's what happened to Sarah, is that she stumbled upon Beth without not even really knowing. She just stumbled upon it. And I love that this first episode that literally, Vivi, as she's leaving the grit after breaking in, she goes to leave and she literally when she's going in, she literally bumps into Cosima. She goes to approach her, but Cosima and her literally bump into one another. That's literally what happened to Sarah and Beth. Yeah. They literally bumped into each other. So I love that little nod to the beginning episode of Orphan Black and the way she discovered that. I was just like, yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
I also think it's a metaphor, like a greater meaning that ties and familial bonds will always find a way to each other. And
Steph, you were deep. I'm gonna love being on this panel with you, girl. You go truth talking.
Well, I feel like this show does that.
But that's so true. It's
when you play with science and ethics and humanity and right versus wrong, it opens a door to so many conversations, and that's why I love this show. I love when you can get deep, and it's just good entertainment. Yeah. But I think that all the clones are going to be made aware of each other. I just don't think that you can keep your creations hidden. I don't want to spoil anything, so there's some, like Tatiana Maslany's talked about in some interviews and stuff, which we're going to mention the interviews later. I don't think we'll mention the spoiler, but talks about kind of what to expect, that if the clones are going to become public or not, and what that's going to happen. But that's definitely, I think, going to be an issue this season. So we kind of leave off with Vivi. We hear that she has no friends. Her job is her life. So she's doing whatever she can do to keep her country safe, to keep her job. And when she feels like she's kind of being outed in a situation and that could cause her to lose her job, she goes into full fight or flight mode and ends up trying to attack Sturgis to stay in the room and keep talking to her. Yeah. But that leads them to this battle. He sprays something in her eye.
Like some chemical we don't know. She thinks she's blind, but she doesn't. Again, I guess it's in a clone DNA that they all can just fight.
Yeah. So, I know they're feisty.
Right. Yeah, right.
So he ends up getting out. We think. That's what we get. In terms of that narrative, he leaves her. She pulls the water emergency down.
She finds that. And then, so that's kind of how we end with her. Yeah. But then we get this jump to where Cosima gets a text.
Yes.
On her phone, and they go and turn on the TV, and then we see bum, 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 as Orphan Black always does at the end of the episode.
And exactly. stress level just skyrockets.
Grit is burned to the ground. We don't need no water. Let the beep beep burn. It is burning, y'all. And we don't know who did it.
We don't know who did it.
Where they did it. How did it happen.
I'm so excited to see where this leads.
Yes.
Now Charlotte's fully in the game with Cosima. She's like, I can pull up facial recognition now that they know that there's other clones that exist on different timelines than them.
Oh, and we don't know Kira is doing, because Kira's also smarty. Kira's doing an internship, but we don't. It's mysterious. We don't know.
She is getting.
So could she be like what Cosima kind of was, where Cosima initially was working for like Dyad and didn't even know she was working for the bad.
That's what I think.
And so I think we might get some of that with Kira.
Yeah, Kira, we know that she's lied to her mom and she's told Charlotte to cover for her. She has a really important internship that she's really excited about, but just tell Cosima that I'm with a friend. Sounds like every teen storyline, so I get it.
Hashtag did it my junior year, got caught.
If I was magical, I think I would not do that. That's just me.
That was magical.
So that wraps up part 1 and 2.
Part 1 and 2 of episode 1.
Yes, episode 1.
So now there's episode 2, which will come out this week,
Every Thursday will be new episodes.
Okay.
So I'm so excited to continue to break those down week by week. We are hoping to get some of the major players in this audiobook a part of our show as well, because we would just love to pick their brains.
Yes, and I believe... And Bree, or maybe correct me if I'm wrong, Serial Box is not like something you find on a podcast app. It's its own kind of app. So you need, it's its own app. You need to download the app, right? And I think if you just Google Orphan Black, the next chapter, like you were saying, you'll see you can listen online probably. Or you can download the app and you can listen to that.
Yes.
So you can get
they are on, they're in the App Store for iTunes app.
Great.
They're on Google Play as well.
Okay, great. So for people, I know Google Play is really big across the pond for you listeners over there. I know my accent's amazing. I know.
You're learning after Tatiana.
Yeah, I know.
Let's get into our special segment.
Oh, clone, you did it! Oh!
So this is where we talk about the moment that just had us shook.
So let us know in the live chat, what is your "Oh, clone, you didn't" moment that shook you?
Yeah, when you were listening to this, what made you pause and be like, okay, or the audacity, I love that. What was it for you, Matt?
Tatiana Maslany. Y'all, when she did Delphine's voice, I stopped, paused, turned it up, rewound it, because I thought it was actually Delphine. I was like, wait, this is supposed to be just Tatiana. Did they get this Wait, are the actors now playing themselves? She is so good. She is so good. I can't even. She sounds just like Delphine. It's incredible. It's truly incredible.
And that moment where she was like, when she got more mad, she like worsened her English accent kind of, and then like I don't know what the word she used was. Like she got crisper.
Yeah.
Not sure what it was, but that even like that change, those subtle changes, is what makes her a true genius.
Yes.
And and I have to agree, I did not think she would be narrating everybody's voices. I thought she would be narrating the story and not impersonating. I didn't know how the story would be told. But the fact that she's doing Charlotte and Kira's voice as well, everyone's voice, that's insane. Like, it's one thing on the show that she was looking the part and everything about her micro expressions, the way that she dressed and acted and said stuff defined the character, but for it to do that on audio, what the heck?
All you have is that one instrument. And she mentioned this article, but you guys, Tatiana Maslany is going to do the voice of Donnie, and I cannot wait for that.
What?
Like, that's going to be amazing.
Yes.
That's going to be, like, so good. And, like, she's going to do Felix, probably. Like, this is going to be so good.
Oh, my gosh.
It's going to be so fun.
Just keep giving her Emmys. Why don't you?
Just give her the Emmys.
So
anyway, was that your moment, too?
Yes.
Okay.
Should we get into some news and gossip?
Sure. We'll talk about some AfterBuzz news.
Brought to us by Matt Marr.
AfterBuzz TV News.
So one of the first things I want to mention is there's a really great interview with Tati. We both read it. There's a really great interview with Tatiana Maslany. If you just kind of Google Orphan Black, or if you just Google Orphan Black ET online, it's Entertainment Tonight. But it's www.etonline.com. You can see this really great. There's a little bit of spoilers of kind of what to expect this season, but also Tatiana talks a lot about how it was I think the title of the article said it was a no-brainer coming back. So, but she talks about how really it's the Clone Club, it's the fans that brought her back to the show and why she continues to love it so much. And that she also talks about just her process and doing the voices. And doing the voices of people that she didn't do before and introducing new clones. And we've already met one, and she talks about there's probably going to be some more clones that are going to happen. So that was very exciting. Also, this is maybe some old news to some, but when I was looking for news. So according to Variety.com, this was an article that came all over Variety, all the trades, Variety Deadline and stuff in March. There's going to be an Orphan Black spinoff. I told you this on the phone, and Steph was like, what? She's like, is she coming back? I was like, no, Tatiana's not coming back. It's not Orphan Black, but it's going to be a spin-off of Orphan Black, meaning it's a show in the same world as Orphan Black. And some people are wondering why this didn't go to the BBC, but apparently, I don't know if AMC or BBC are owned by the same company, but apparently there's some type of agreements where shows from the BBC have gone to AMC and vice versa. So I couldn't find any newer information on that. If you know of any information, please let us know. But yeah, there's going to be some spin-off world, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it.
You already know.
I'm here for maybe
Take
Paul,
my money,
maybe Paul was a
whatever it
clone.
is.
Maybe Paul's a clone, and there's like 30 Pauls, shirtless Pauls out there with amazing butts.
Also here for that, heavily. Thank you for that.
Yes.
Really interesting stuff. I want to know more news about it. I can't wait. I want them to have more interviews, more press on this.
And I want them to come
More
here
Orphan Black.
and have interviews.
Yes.
Y'all, if you know someone, send them to us.
So next we have this thing at AfterBuzz we like to call our top 3, and this week we will be highlighting our top 3 Tatiana Maslany projects.
Yes.
Yes, queen.
Yes, queen.
Yes.
Yes, queen. Yes. Top 3 Tatiana. Because let's catch up with Tatiana. It's been a hot minute. What's she been up to? And I know you mentioned she was in a film, right?
Yes, with Jake. So first,
I didn't see it, but I think you did.
yeah, I did. It's with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it
came out like a year ago, I think,
Yes.
right? Yeah. Is he like a vet who's like, wasn't she like he's in the army or?
Stronger.
Okay,
I didn't want to butcher the name. So first for our Tatiana Maslany projects is Stronger. This is with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it was about someone who lost his legs when 2 bombs exploded in the Boston Marathon, and she is the main character with him in that, and it's a great film.
I just didn't want to cry.
Another
but it looked
tearjerker.
good. Okay.
Another tearjerker, but super positive messaging. I mean, she's an incredible actress, and it was cool to see her on the big screen.
And they're both such good actors. That would have been great to see them together.
Yes. And second, you had mentioned.
Yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal's been a lot on Broadway, and guess what? So is Tatiana Maslany. She just finished. I think she is not still. I think she just finished. She was in the play Network, which is famous play from. They did not a musical, it's a revival. I guess it's a play. It's called a revival. But anyway, she's just finishing that on Broadway, and then she's got other projects. If you look at her IMDb, she has other projects in the road too. So that's our top 2, and then our number 3.
Our number 3 and really our number 1 of all time is Orphan
Black.
I mean, come on!
It's our favorite. It's our favorite.
I know I'm
favorite.
harping on this like no other, but this is the one show, and it's such a funny story. Orphan Black is the show I auditioned for AfterBuzz. So at AfterBuzz, when you audition, you send in a review of your favorite show. So I was like, no brainer, Orphan Black, let's go. And it worked out because obviously I can talk about it forever.
Yeah.
And so it's so great being able to come back at AfterBuzz and talk about it in a different light.
Full
but
circle moment.
She is the one who sold me on the show completely. And on top of the writing and the production value of it all and the direction it went in, her performance in Orphan Black is historic to me.
It's stunning, and then when you hear her doing the voice of it, and it's just as good. I mean, we talked a lot about Delphine, but it's really crazy how she switches from Sarah to the difference of, like, we knew that it was Cosima.
Yes.
By her voice.
Yes.
By the way Cosima talked.
Yes.
We knew, y'all.
Like, what?
I mean, you knew too. Like, and so it was totally, because you're like, wait, I know that person. That's a clone. And you have to think, wait, that's Cosima. So the fact that she can do that is so, it's just beautiful. It's inspiring as an actor. It's inspiring to see that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm sure.
It's wonderful.
She is amazing. So,
She's wonderful.
yeah, that's our top 3.
That's our top 3.
Let's get into our predictions.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Your AfterBuzz TV
And
predictions.
if you guys are listening in the chat, please put your predictions as well. And if you're listening or are watching us on YouTube after we're live, please put it in. I want to see what you guys are thinking. We want to talk to you guys even after our after show ends.
Yes.
So Matt, what are you thinking?
I mean, my prediction is I think Rachel can't stay gone and be good. I think Rachel.
She is like the wicked witch
I
of
think
the
Rachel is in this mess, y'all. She has stirred the pot. Rachel is somewhere in the grid.
She's like...
That's what I think.
Yeah, she has... I mean, real life Rachel is probably heading like 15 different gossip news sites, and she's getting all the tea on every single
the tea
clone.
and having sex with young men, because that's what
my
Rachel
God.
does.
Yeah, she's a goddess.
She's a goddess.
She is a manipulative goddess.
Hashtag goals. Hashtag goals. What about you?
So I think Kira is gonna put herself in a lot of trouble. I think that she is in an internship that is 2 steps ahead of her and trying to probably get some of her DNA. Maybe she'll be the catalyst that ends up solving the issue, but I think it'll go either way.
Okay.
She's either in an organization that's ahead of it in a good way or a bad way. I think that Charlotte...
Which is so funny in that Sarah bucked it all the time with S, not knowing that S was always just trying to protect her.
Oh my gosh.
I just got that analogy of like the... S.
Oh,
It's so good. Anyway.
Please don't bring up S again. I'm not ready. S, the matriarch.
I
the
know.
true matriarch. So, yeah. So, and then I think Charlotte's going to be really more involved, which I'm excited about because I think she's brilliant and she's like a little Cosima in action. And she's pumped up. She doesn't have as many scars, so to speak, as the rest of the orphans. So the rest of the clones. So I think that she has a little bit more grit, pun intended, with the grit blow up,
I like that.
to get after it and find out what's going on. And I think that Vivi will get more insight on her. I think that she's gonna have to come find out that she's a clone maybe next episode. That's what my guess
probably
is.
pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think pretty soon. Because there's only going to be 10 episodes in this show.
Yeah.
So that's all, which is kind of a bummer because we got more before. But at the same time, when there's 10 episodes, it's like they cut the fat and they make it all count. Like, so I think this is going to be like, the first one was so good, and I think they're all going to be 10 really good episodes.
Yeah.
Billie Jean agrees with you. She predicts that Kira, in the chat, that she says she's going to end up working for the bad guys and not knowing it. So that's
Spicy.
it. That's it, y'all.
Well, that wraps up our after show. Thank you guys so much for tuning in with us. If you did catch hold of this audiobook and you are privy to this information, spread the word. Social about it, tweet about it, Facebook, Instagram, whatever it may be. Let people know that this is out there because there are so many Orphan Black fans that might not know this exists, and you'll just make their day, kind of like my day was made when I found out.
If they're on social media, I've been getting ads about this.
Yeah, when Tatiana tweeted about it and said Orphan Black fans or maybe something in the making, I said, shut the front door. What is it? Tell me now. But so yeah,
that's
let
our
them
goal,
know.
y'all.
Spread the word.
We're telling you now, Tatiana Maslany is going to be here in this studio, come hell or high water.
Yes.
If I have to woohoo my way all the way to Canada, we're going to try to make it happen.
Yes. So visit cerealbox.com.
Yep.
Spread the word. Thank you, Cereal Box, for bringing
Thank you,
this.
Cerealbox.
This is
Yes,
so awesome.
They gave us an episode early so we could listen to it, and so that way we could bring it to you.
Yes. Matt, in the meantime, where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me. All my socials are at the Matt Marr, 2 T's, 2 R's. Also, I have a podcast. You can, if you're interested in the 90 Day Fiancé universe, I recap that. That podcast is called The 90 Day Gaze, and you can find that where you listen to podcasts.
Spicy.
It's fun. We have a lot of fun.
Love it.
It's a good show. What about you?
I'm Steph Sabraw. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Steph Sabraw. I love talking to you guys after we go live. So talk to me. Hit me up. In the meantime, have a great week. We'll
Bye,
see you
y'all.
later.
See you next week. Clone you later.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.